Hello and welcome. You've seen it, right? You're on YouTube and there it is, that lo-fi hip-hop radio stream, the one with the girl studying, and there are literally millions of people listening in. Today we're going to figure out the science behind this huge cultural thing.
So that's the real question, isn't it? Why this music? Why do so many people swear by it for focusing? Is it all just a vibe? Or is there something real, something scientific happening inside our brains? Well, let's find out.
Okay, first things first. We have to really get what we're talking about. Let's unpack this sound that's basically become the official soundtrack for late-night study sessions everywhere. So the name itself, lo-fi or low fidelity, is a huge clue. Unlike a big pop song that's produced to grab you and demand your attention, this stuff is designed to do the exact opposite. Its entire reason for being is to just hang out in the background and support your focus, not steal it.
And when you really look at the components, you realize it's a very precise formula. That slow tempo, somewhere between 60 and 90 beats per minute, it kind of slows down your own internal rhythm. The drum patterns are soft and they just repeat, so your brain learns to ignore them. And this is a big one. There are almost never any lyrics to get tangled up in the language parts of your brain. Even those little ambient sounds, like the crackle of a record player or rain, they're there to help mask other noises. Every single piece is there to help, not to distract.
Now, to really get why lo-fi works so well, we have to talk about the enemy of focus. And that enemy has a name: cognitive load. This is the real scientific reason why just sitting down to study can feel like you're fighting an uphill battle.
The easiest way to think about it is like the RAM on your computer. Your working memory is where you're actively juggling information. Cognitive load is just how much of that RAM is being used up, and if you overload it, well, you know what happens. Everything slows down, things start to crash.
And not all this load is the same. Intrinsic load is just how hard the topic is. You can't give much about that. Germane load is actually the good stuff. That's the deep thinking that builds real memories. The one we really have to worry about, the one we need to fight, is extraneous load. That's all the useless junk, the notifications, the person talking in the next room, all of it.
So you see, the real secret to focusing better isn't about just trying harder. It's about making it easier for your brain to do its job. It's about clearing out all that mental clutter by getting rid of those useless distractions.
And this right here is where lo-fi comes into the picture. It's basically a tool that's perfectly designed to fight that extraneous load, to literally create more space in your brain for the things that actually matter.
Okay, this slide shows the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got your typical song with lyrics. Well, your brain has specific parts like Broca's and Wernicke's areas just for processing language, so that song is literally fighting for the same brain space as the textbook you're trying to read. But on the right, you have lo-fi. It's almost always instrumental, so it just leaves those language centers free to do their job.
And that repetition we talked about earlier? That's not a bug, it's a feature. That's the whole point. Because the beat is so predictable, your brain just goes, okay, I know what this is, and it stops paying attention. It doesn't have to waste any energy trying to figure out what's coming next, so all that mental energy can go straight to your work.
So we've talked about how lo-fi helps cut down on the negatives, like distractions. But it actually does something even cooler. It helps create the perfect positive state for your brain to learn and perform at its absolute best. This whole idea is backed by a classic principle in psychology called the Yerkes-Dodson law. It sounds complicated, but it's not. All it says is that to perform at your best, you need to be in a sweet spot of stimulation. You can't be bored, but you also can't be super stressed or jacked up. And you can see it right here in this chart. Way over on the left, you're bored, and your performance is in the tank. Way over on the right, you're stressed out, and your performance tanks again. Lo-fi helps you land right in that beautiful middle section. That's the optimal zone, where you're alert, you're engaged, and you're doing your best work.
And when you hit that optimal zone, that's when the magic can happen. You can achieve something called a flow state. You know what I'm talking about. It's when you get so locked into what you're doing that the rest of the world just fades away and hours feel like minutes.
Lo-fi actively helps you get there. Its whole vibe is calm, so it helps keep you emotionally stable and reduces that annoying study anxiety. It's like a blanket of sound that covers up other distracting noises, and its steady, consistent rhythm helps you stay focused for way longer.
Okay, but we have to be real here. Lo-fi is an amazing tool, for sure, but it's not some magic bullet that works for every single person or for every single task. You gotta know when to use it.
For a lot of us, total silence is actually distracting. It can make your own racing thoughts feel deafening, or suddenly you're aware of every tiny little noise in the building. Lo-fi gives your brain a gentle anchor to hold on to, masking those distractions, both the ones inside your head and the ones outside.
So the real takeaway here is you've got to know yourself and what you're working on. If you're doing something that needs a ton of verbal thinking, like trying to memorize a speech, maybe silence is the better choice. And if you do use lo-fi, remember the golden rule: keep the volume low. It's supposed to be background, not the main event.
So let's bring it all home. When you use it the right way, lo-fi isn't just some nice background music. It's a strategic tool, something you can actively use to make your brain work better.
And this right here, this is probably the most important thing to remember. The music itself isn't adding IQ points. It's just creating the perfect environment for your brain to do its best work by lowering distractions, calming you down, and helping you find that incredible flow state.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Knowing all this, the next time you really need to buckle down and focus, what kind of soundscape are you going to build for your brain to help it perform at its absolute peak?